Takeover Tour recap on the Purple Rain podcast, where this time it's the first of our return trips. As you guys know, for this season's tour, 5 cities were chosen to have 2 Takeover Tour games, and this was the first of them. This is also, I should say, another back-to-back night for the Takeover Tour. This is the second time where 2 Takeover Tour games happen on the same day. So, like we did last week, we're going to record both of them back to back, and they will both be published back to back. So, okay. Thankfully, that's the end of it now. There's no more double headers on the tour. It's pretty much now everyone now gets their own chance to shine in the spotlight, which is good because that's really how the tour should have been. I think if you had like we had this weekend, where you have a return trip, that's fine. But if you got 2 new cities, I don't think it's a really good idea. Anyway. So we were back in Halifax. Now, as you guys remember, Halifax hosted the first stop on the tour back in December. That was when the Victoire and Scepters travelled there. And we weren't really too impressed with the Purple Trio. We weren't really too impressed with how Halifax did. So, this was a huge opportunity to make a second first impression. And I think, collectively, all 3 of us agreed Halifax did better the second time round than the first time round. Any issues that we had during the first stop kind of went away during this stop. And also, can we just say, very well done to Halifax for being able to put on this event despite the fire that happened in the week. In case you didn't notice, or hadn't heard about it, on Thursday, there was a fire that happened at the Scotiabank Centre. Luckily, no one was hurt, and we were a bit concerned how it's going to affect the tour. But no, it's all fine. All way ahead to Hitch. Yeah, that was quite a shock hearing that during Traitors. As if there wasn't already enough fires to be for as it is. What with Fiona? Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. What's this week going to bring? I don't know. Yeah, so thankfully, it all went ahead, all fine, despite the fact that we did have a very nasty fire that happened at the arena, but it's all good. So this time it was the Ottawa Charge of the Boston Fleet who went head to head. So this is a big matchup given how Boston have been red hot so far, and Ottawa, they're starting to now rebound. They had a very poor start. In the last couple of games, they've been really picking it up in their strides, and so a really great game as well. So, Ottawa wins 6 straight, topping Boston 2-1 in Halifax. The Ottawa Charge skated to their 6th straight victory, edging the Boston Fleet 2-1 in a shootout Sunday afternoon in front of a sold-out crowd of 10,452 at the DoorDash PWHL Takeover Tour at Scotiabank Centre in Halifax. The win marks the longest streak in the PWHL this season, extending the longest in Charge history, as Ottawa moves into 4th place in the standings. Boston opened the scoring just 3:01 into the first period when Susanna Tapani netted her 4th goal of the season, redirecting a point shot from Hatley Hartman. After a scoreless second period, Charge captain Brianne Jenner tied the game 1-1, 8:48 into the third, extending her goal streak to 3 straight games. Ottawa controlled possession for much of overtime, but couldn't generate a grade A chance, sending the game to a shootout, the second straight match-up between these teams to be decided that way. Jenna scored on one of 2 attempts in the shootout, with Katerina Marizova providing the winner for the Charge. Goaltender Sani Ahola making her second start of the season, stopped 3 of 5 Boston attempts to secure her first win, PWHL win. And Franco made 17 saves in her 50th career start for Boston, while Ahola turned aside 31 shots for the Charge. So let's go to the quotes. So now we're going to start with Ottawa, and we're starting with Ottawa alternate captain Emily Clark on the team's 18 wins and 1 loss when Brianne Jenner scores a goal. She leads by example every single day. She's an incredible captain and leader for us. When she's going, we're all going. She's been incredible for us this season. Now let's hear from Brianne Jenner on the sold-out crowd in Halifax. We had this Takeover Tour game circled on the calendar. We knew it was going to be a packed house on the East Coast. Outside of TD Place, this is the loudest crowd we've heard this season. It was awesome. Now we're going to hear from Boston head coach Chris Sparr on the game overall. It was a fun game, always good to be back in Halifax. For us, it wasn't our cleanest game that we've played this year, but I still liked our compete. I liked a lot of things about that game, and we'll look to build off of this heading into Wednesday. And finally, Fleet forward Jill Saunier on what it meant to play in her hometown. I've said it quite a few times since I've arrived here, but it's been a dream of mine to come back and play at home. I left home when I was really young, so to be able to play in front of all my friends and family, including people that flew back home for this game, was really special. What made it even better was the group that I'm with. Everyone with the Fleet and the environment in Boston has been a dream come true. Okay, so let's move on to the notables now. And then I'll just finish off some more final thoughts on Halifax as a whole. So, Halifax has sold out both of its DoorDash PWHL Takeover Tour games this season with a combined attendance, wait for it, with a combined attendance of 20,890 at Scotiabank Centre. Both games went to a shootout with a final score of 2-1, with Montreal prevailing over Toronto in the first game held on December 17th. So both the road teams have won both games in Halifax. That's a little interesting for me to put as well. So, the Charge are the first team in the PHL this season to win 6 straight games. And they've gone 2-4-0-0 in that record, surpassing Boston's opening run of 5 consecutive regulation victories. With the victory, Ottawa moves into 4th place, just 1 point behind New York and 2 behind Minnesota and 6 behind Boston. This is a very good example of how things can change very quickly in this league. Dating back to last season, Ottawa has won its last 3 Takeover Tour games after losing the first 3 in 2024-25. The Charge has also won each of its last 2 Takeover Tour games beyond regulation, including a 3-2 overtime victory against Minnesota in Chicago on December 21. Ottawa is 3-3 all time in shootouts. Boston is 5-3. Charge improved to 4-0 in extra time games this season, including 2 shootout victories over the Boston Fleet. All 3 of Ottawa's shootout wins in team history have come against Boston, while all 3 of Boston's shootout losses have come against Ottawa. I can say something. The Charge being perfect in extra time, that's not something we would have said to the last 2 seasons. Because the past 2 seasons, Ottawa had never been good in extra time. It was always kind of give and serve. You take the Charge to overtime, you will get the victory. So the Charge have really turned their kryptonite around this season, and that's what we would like to see all teams really do going forward. But it's just incredible. This is what they're doing right now. The Charge extended their win streak against the Fleet to 4 straight games. Boston has won 5 of the first 7 meetings between the teams all time. Brianne Jenner scored her 7th goal of the season in her 12th game, matching her 2024-25 total in 28 games. The Charge captain has now scored in 3 straight games, 1 game away from the longest goal streak of her career. She now has 12 points, 3 of last season's mark, co-leading the PWHL in scoring at the end of the game. Ottawa's all-time regular season record improved to 18-1 when Jenner scored. The forward is 3 for 4 in her last 4 shootout attempts, all against Boston, with the Charge winning both shootouts. Sania Hola earned her first PHL win in just her 2nd career start. The Finnish goaltender becomes the 15th netminder to record a victory this season, stopping 31 shots and 3 of 5 shootout attempts. And Franco became the first goaltender in PHL history to start 50 regular season games. The goaltender has a career 1.98 goals against average, 0.98 save percentage, and 5 shutouts in regular season play. She has defeated every team in the PHL this season except for Ottawa. Mark, the next time I need to put these 2 ties playing your calendar then. Cesar Tapani extended her career high point streak to 5 games, with her 4th goal of the season. The Finnish forward has now scored in 4 of her 5 career Takeover Tour games, including each of her last 3 dating back to last season in St. Louis. Sarah Wozniak recorded the lone assist on Jedda's goal and now has 4 points over her last 3 games. The forward ranks 5th, I should say, in team scoring, and sits 2nd among Charge rookies with 5 points. Hadley Hartnett recorded her 2nd assist of the season and her 1st point since December 3, snapping a 5-game scoreless streak. The defender now has 2 points in 9 games this season, both primary assists. Teresa Schulas recorded the secondary assist on Tapani's 1st period goal, giving her 4 points in 11 games this season, and one shy of her total through 30 games in 2024-25. The helper also surpassed her assist total from last season. Alina Muller led all skaters with 5 shots on goal and was one of 15 different Fleet players to record a shot. Hannah Brandt scored once in 2 shootout attempts in the game and has a career shootout success rate of 5 for 9. She also shot twice in the Fleet's last shootout against the Charge. Ottawa won the face-off battle, taking 58.9% of the draws. Jeddah led the way, winning 15 of 20, the highest mark she's had this season. Debbie Hughes won 7 of 12, and Katerina Marazova won 9 of 15. Shay Maloney was the only Fleet player to surpass 50% among those with at least 2 face-offs, winning 6 of 11. Zoe Boyd was scratched from Boston's United today due to illness. Gwyneth Phillips was given a day off at rest from the Charge lineup. Jill Saunier, the only Nova Scotia native in today's game, took the ceremonial face-off opposite Charge backup goaltender Kendra Woodland, who's a former standout at the University of New Brunswick. Eddie Black, a 4-time Canadian Olympic gymnast, dropped the puck. Canadian icon Anna Murray read the Charge's starting lineup before the game. The quadruple Grammy Award winner and first Canadian to get a #1 hit song in the USA had her 2 grandnieces in the locker room with her. And that leads us to the 3 stars of the game. The 3rd star is Cesar Tapani from Boston. The 2nd star, Sania Holler from Ottawa. And the 1st star, Briangela from Ottawa. Upcoming schedules for Ottawa: Tuesday, January 13th at Montreal at 7 p.m. Eastern. Boston, Wednesday, January 14th versus Toronto at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so that just now leaves me to do some final thoughts, particularly on Halifax as a whole. So, Halifax was always, when the tour got announced, Halifax was always an interesting one, given how I had known nothing about Halifax beforehand, and it was always going to be a very interesting market to go and to visit and see what the interest is. And I mean, it's clear to me that the interest is absolutely there. Okay, there is no denying that Nova Scotia showed up in droves for our league, and that's brilliant because that's what we want to see. I've been saying it time and time again. If you get given a takeover game, I want you to prove to me that you are engaging with the league, that you're making the most of this, what could be a once in a lifetime opportunity. I want you to show me the effort. And for 2 games now in a row, Halifax has done literally just that. Now, the only problem, and Lady shares as well, the only problem I've got with Halifax is its remoteness, okay? It is quite... Nova Scotia is quite remote from the rest of the league. It's in its own different time zone, which I, in the first game, got a bit confused on. I was like, what the... So it turns out Halifax has got its own time zone. So I thought, oh my god, that was a bit quite confusing. But cleared it up for the next one, so it's fine. So I just... That's the only issue I got. I know I'm not the only person, because I think somebody brought it up on for a Send It segment on Drox and Jills recently. So it's glad to see I'm not the only one who shares a bit concerns that Halifax might be a bit too remote if we were to go to the league. If the league was to go there permanently, you were to welcome Halifax into the league. But at the same time, I've said it again. I want the right markets in this league. Now, if the PWHL thinks that Halifax is the right market, then who am I to say, no, you can't have a team? And to manage to have sold out both your Takeover Tour games, I think that's a huge boost. And that shows straight away, yes, this city means business. They want a team. They want to join the league. The fact they've sold out both of their... In fact, if we just look quickly remind quickly to the first Takeover Tour game, was this tour just had an up from the first one? No, give me 2 seconds. Okay, so when the Big 12 sectors came to town, they recorded 10,452. Oh, it's the same. So it's the same, right? So it's the same number for both games. Somebody said they increased it. No, that's clearly not an increase. Bloody hell. Anyway, well, have I got those numbers wrong? Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves for a few moments. Somebody online said that this was an increase from the first game. So let's just see about that. If it is, then I need to redo the numbers. Yep, it is. Sorry. Right, I put the numbers down wrong. Right, I'll have to read calc... Because I'm currently trying to add up the totals for all the Takeover Tour games. So that total's wrong, so I'm going to need to redo that. Yeah, sorry, so the first game on December the 8th, on the 17th, sorry. On December, it's been a long night. I'm still very exhausted from doing 3 games in a row last night. And, of course, these Takeover Tour games were had on delays. Sorry. In the first Takeover Tour game at Halifax on December 17th, 10,438 people walked into the building. And then for the second game on January 11th, 10,452 went into the building. Okay, so there we go. So it's a tiny increase. So the fact they managed to increase both times is incredible. Now, if we're thinking about 4 teams joining, you do 2 from Canada, 2 from the US. I would not have a problem if Halifax comes in if you do 2 Western American cities, because obviously Edmonton, Calgary might be tricky, and then obviously Halifax, Hamilton, Quebec, they're all on the East Coast. So I would not have a problem if you were to choose, say, either Halifax and Hamilton or Halifax and Quebec. If you then go on the American side, you then go to West Coast cities, so Denver and somebody else. Maybe a market that hasn't been given a Takeover Tour game that you think could be worthy candidate. Because unless Chicago could boost those numbers up in March, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. It's interesting what we're gonna see. But those numbers are incredible. Halifax, brilliant. Yeah. So, and I think Halifax, you made a better impression on me this time around than you did last time around. Maybe it probably wasn't wise for a non-traditional hockey market to open our tour. Maybe it would have been wise if, say, either one of the cities that welcomed teams last year should have gone first, and then you slowly bring Halifax into the fold. So obviously that worked with Hamilton, and obviously Hamilton I was blown away by. I think Hamilton maybe should be considered, but obviously I think a lot of people are going to think, well, maybe Halifax needs to get in first, given how they got given 2 games. And of course you have to ask yourself, were these 5 markets that got given 2 games, are these the candidates for expansion? So could that mean that it could be a combination between Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Halifax, Edmonton? That wouldn't work unless you go Halifax, Edmonton, and then maybe Denver and somebody else. But we all know Michigan can't host PWHL hockey full time. Yeah. So it's going to be a very interesting dilemma to have as the tour goes on, because obviously I don't think we're going to get any. If we do get expansion news, it's not going to happen until after the tour. So, but Halifax I think did a lot better this time round than they did the first time round. I felt just the atmosphere was a lot better. The crowd were more instigated it. The PA system we thought wasn't quite loud enough. It was fine. I thought we managed to hear everything loud and clear this time. So all those problems that we as a public crew had with the first Takeover Tour game in Halifax, they kind of got cleared up, which is good, because that means that Halifax can show, oh, there's a problem, they recognise it and fix it. So that's really, really, really good. But we were watching it. I think Lady mentioned it, how she was quite pleased and more impressed with how things were going, and then then chimed in and said, we're also quite. That's also a lot better than the last time. So I think Halifax could be a strong contender to be in the conversation for expansion. It's clear that there is interest in women's hockey in there because they sold out both of their games, and I think this will be kind of hold up to about 10,600 people for hockey. So to be at full capacity for both games is brilliant, and it does make you wonder, okay, well, if the PHL was here full time, would we see those numbers be replicated night in, night out? Just like how we're seeing both Vancouver and Seattle record impressive attendance numbers night in, night out since having joined the league this season. So, yeah. So I think Halifax... Right. In terms of expansion, Halifax is very much a wild card because I think it's a bigger gamble than Seattle or Ottawa were. because Halifax is in Nova Scotia. Not many people know about Nova Scotia. It's quite remote, and it would cause a lot of trouble problems, but then again, if the league thinks it hits the criteria that it has for expansion, if they believe it's the right thing to do, then who am I to say no, don't do it? Because like I said, I want the right markets and not just any markets to become a part of this league. So if the PHL thinks that Halifax is the right market, I can't say no. I have to go, yes, welcome, come on in. Let's get you the welcome pack, you know? So yeah. So I was really more impressed with Halifax this time around than I was last time around. And we'll have to see. I wouldn't be surprised if Halifax does get a team. I will not be surprised because they've proven both times that they can sell out a PHL game, which is great. And they've had two very exciting matchups. Obviously, you had Montreal and Toronto, and Boston and Ottawa, which are sort of two iconic rivalries in sports. Yeah, so that was really good. I just think it was a really good game as well. Really exciting. Because this week the games had felt a bit kind of, you know, a bit of a drag. You know, there's a lot of back and forth in a lot of the games we had this week. And before we went to go and watch our game against Seattle, Pluto was saying, "Oh, I really hope we get some action today, because it has felt a bit kind of, you know, too much back and forth. It wasn't not like this." And but yeah, so this was a really good competitive game, which was great to see. And Ottawa literally going on a roll. They are turning a corner now. They're now got themselves into a playoff spot. We'll see if they can continue that up. Yeah, and of course their next opponent is the team that they saw in Quebec last year. Because obviously our next stop was also in Quebec, and that happened a couple of hours after Halifax. In fact, it happened at the exact same time as we were hosting Seattle. So the game in Halifax began at 5 p.m. in the UK time, and then the other two games are going against Seattle in Minnesota, and then obviously Montreal and Vancouver in Quebec. That happened both at 7 p.m. our time. So that meant after we watched our game live, we then have to watch these two Takeover Tour games on a delay back to back. So she was a little bit exhausted. So apologies for nearly tripping up. Tripping up during the show. Yeah, so it's still a little bit exhausted here. No, so I think Halifax did very, very well. They could be a wild card for expansion. We just don't know how it's going to go down. You know, we don't know if it's going to be 2 teams, is it going to be 4 teams. I mean, Pluto said he thinks it should be 4 teams just to rip the band-aid off and get straight to it. Which I think would be the right thing to do, because that means we can then hold at 12. And also, given how this draft class is one of a kind, the more players you can bring into the league, the better. And that's really going to help the talent pool, especially if you then have to then basically gouge 8 teams of hardy players to fill up 4 rosters in the expansion process. So yeah, but we'll see. Yeah, so anyway, but Halifax did very, very well this time around. A lot better this time around than they did the third time around. And also, just more put something out, guess who was back in the building? The author of Heated Rivalry! And that's now available to stream in the UK on Sky TV. So, yep. Yeah. But I think, yeah, so thank you, Halifax. Next stop, Quebec City.